going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and today we're going to be talking about Crash Bandicoot and the announcements towards the franchise that were made during Sony's E3 2016 press conference for PlayStation. Now, if you wanted a full recap of that conference, I made that video as well, and I will link it in the description box down below. It's about 12 minutes long, and it will definitely catch you up as to what was talked about at that conference. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about some Crash Bandicoot. So for a while now, rumors have been circulating that something is going on with the Crash Bandicoot IP, and this kind of all links back to PSX 2015, where Shawn Layden actually went out on stage wearing a Crash Bandicoot t-shirt. And if I know anything about the gaming industry, these things don't just happen by mistake. He didn't just happen to wear a shirt for a game that's from 1996 just because he wanted to. He wanted to plant the seed in our minds that there was something going on with Crash Bandicoot, and he definitely successfully did that, because I specifically remember for the majority of the latter half of that December, everyone was talking about Crash Bandicoot on Twitter. What does this mean? Is there something being hinted at? And I think originally it was somewhat denied, but obviously it was to be kind of a predecessor to the announcement that was made at E3 2016. And now, if you happen to have played Uncharted 4, and I'm not going to be going into any spoilers, there is an Easter egg in that game where you can play Crash Bandicoot, and it's actually a pretty well-placed Easter egg, because it does add to the story a good bit. It does get you emotionally involved, and so I applaud that on Naughty Dog's part. But a lot of people read into that and said that there was going to be some kind of big announcement at this year's E3, and it turns out they were right. So for those that might not have heard, there are 3 different games getting the remastering treatment, including the original Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, and then Crash Bandicoot Warped, which are the first 3 games in the franchise, which I feel is a pretty good amount of content to include in a remastered collection. I'm curious though as to how they're going to actually release these games. Is it going to be digital only? Are they going to be PlayStation 1 classics with trophy support? Is it going to be some kind of physical release, whether it be through a limited run of physical copies or a full-fledged title for $50? I highly doubt that'll happen. I'm thinking $25 is a pretty fair price for this, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go about actually distributing these titles back to the gamers that are on PlayStation 4. In addition to this, it was announced that Crash is going to be coming to Skylanders Imaginators, and this is where I got pretty excited, because Crash Bandicoot for me is a major part of my childhood, especially with Crash Tag Team Racing. I believe was the original title that I first was introduced to Crash, and then I kind of branched out from there. But to have Crash reintroduced to a new generation of gamers is something that I love to see, because like so many of the characters from the late 90s, I was afraid that Crash Bandicoot was just going to kind of fade into a nostalgic nothingness, so to speak, where everybody just remembers these games and no one really is able to recall what the gameplay was like. Younger gamers don't even know what this is. I see this a lot in my Twitch chat. It's just nice to see the memory of Crash being fulfilled and continued within Skylanders Imaginators, and of course with these remasters, I'm sure that a lot of gamers that played these games back in the day probably have some kids of their own by now, and they are definitely going to be sitting down and playing some Crash Bandicoot Remastered with those young kids. It's going to be a great thing, and I can't wait to see how they continue supporting Crash throughout the years. Just don't screw it up with any tribal tattoos. This is a lot better than what I thought we were going to see, which was the announcement that yes, Crash would be coming to Skylanders Imaginators, but that also there's going to be a Crash app game coming to the iPhone and Android. That's what I thought was going to happen, because the gameplay of Crash and also the aesthetics of the original Crash kind of lend itself to a mobile game that would be an endless runner, kind of like Temple Run. Bear with me here. Imagine the gameplay of Crash Bandicoot, and you just swipe your finger to the right or to the left, and he goes through the jungle, avoiding pillars, avoiding boulders and whatnot. You could definitely see that happening, and you wouldn't even have to work that hard on making the game look better, because you could totally just put nostalgia in the description, and boom, you can get that thing out for free, put microtransactions in it, put a couple of ads in the menus, and you're making some bank right there. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought that Sony was going to sell out. I thought that Activision was going to sell out, and that we would see the end of Crash in that way. But it does appear that they are respecting what Crash is, because it is an iconic name in PlayStation, it is an iconic name in gaming, and it's nice to see that they're treating it as such. So there you guys have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below and comment what you think about Crash Bandicoot being remastered for the PlayStation 4, as well as coming to Skylanders Imaginators. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, I've been covering E3 2016 all week. There's a full playlist available on my channel if you are interested in that. That pretty much has highlights of all of the conferences and a couple of videos here and there that have my opinion included in them, so you can check all of that good stuff out. But as for right now, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.